Hey there, everybody. It's Mrs. Ramey here, and welcome to week 2 of Art and the Bible, where we jump on into the Bible and see what it says about art. Now, last week was our kickoff of these videos, and last week we talked about Ephesians 2:10, which talks about us being God's workmanship. And today we're going to be focusing on some verses in Genesis. We're going to be focused on Genesis 1, and we're going to be paying some extra special attention to verses number 23 and 27. So if you're unfamiliar with the book of Genesis, this is really where the Bible begins. Genesis 1 explains the creation of the entire world, actually. So here we catch God as he is creating all of these different things. And then starting in verse 23, we arrive to the sixth day, the final day of God's creation, and that is where we are going to begin. Actually, 23 is like the tail end of day 5. So let's start there. So verse 23 says, "And there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things, and beasts of the earth according to their kinds. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that creeps on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them." So this week I really wanted to focus on, like I said, verses number 23, that very first verse, and the very last verse, 27. And in this first verse, it doesn't seem like a whole lot's going on. I mean, it says, and there was evening and there was morning, the fifth day. But when I was thinking about this verse, I realized that there didn't need to be a day 6. God had already created a lot of other really awesome things. He'd created a ton of stuff on day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So he didn't need to keep creating. There didn't need to be a day 6, which is actually like kind of mind-blowing to me. He didn't need to create humans. So my first question for you about these little verses that we just read here is, why did God not stop creating on day 5? So it's something that you can be thinking about through the week. It's something that you can be thinking about now, or it's something that you can even ask one of your students or one of your children. Now, the next two questions I have about this little part of our reading today have to do with the verse 27, where it says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Now, this verse is actually kind of linked to the last verse that we read. You might be thinking, of course, it's the Bible. And yes, that's true. So in Ephesians 2, we talked about the how we have been made as God's workmanship. But here we see that not only are we a work of art, not only are we something that God has fashioned and molded and created, but here we see that we're created in a unique and special way. It says here that God created mankind. He created humans in his own image. Male and female, he created them. So I have another question for you about what we're reading here in the Bible. And my second question is, what do you think it means to be created in the image of God? This is something that I've been asking myself ever since I really came across these verses. I've asked myself, well, does that mean that I kind of look like him, on the outside? Does that mean that my emotions are reflective of God? I don't know. You could take this in a lot of different ways. And so I want to ask you, what do you think it means to be made in the image of God? Now, the last question I have for you about this reading is, if we are made in the image of God, what does that mean for us? If we as humans believe that this is the truth, if we believe the Bible is true, and we believe that we are created by God and that we're created in his image, what does that mean for us. It means at least that we stand out from the rest of creation. So what does that look like? What should that look like? So hopefully these are some really interesting thoughts that I've helped to plant in your mind as you go through this week. I hope that you have some really amazing conversations with your friends or with yourself or with God, with your students, with your children. And I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this subject of being made in the image of God in this creation story. So if you would like to answer these questions so that I could read them, I would absolutely love to speak with you about what you think and what I think, and I'd love to read what you have to say. So you can respond in the comments below, and I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. So thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you again next Wednesday for another one of these episodes, I guess, of Art and the Bible.